So I turned my gain down and my volume up. Somewhat of a sound expert. Lucky for you, I'm a dog lover. Alright, y'all. I'm not feeling too good. I'm feeling a little under the weather, you know. It's, I tend to get seasonal depression around my birthday. Funny enough, I don't get seasonal depression when winter hits, but since my birthday is usually in the coldest part of the year, I just save it for my birthday. Like, I can't remember a birthday where I haven't gotten some form of seasonal depression, but this has been pretty stabilizing. You know, I'm like, okay, I gotta have an episode out today. I gotta take more notes for tomorrow's episode, and it keeps me on path the way that any other dedicated hobby would, right? So pretty glad to be doing this. Hey guys, hope everyone's having a good time. Hopefully the turning down of the gain and the turning up of the volume will allow me to be heard while preventing that whole crackly sound from coming through and bucking with people's ears. Pardon my French, I'm actually going to try and curse less in future episodes. I'm working on it. So, I was thinking, and I'm sure I'm not the first person to say this. DEI just seems to me like a systemic defense mechanism against the wisdom of those that already went through all of that shit. They went down the road, they made a little money off of it. Mostly, you know, the very, very top percentage got all the wealth and money and power, and they learned and they got wisdom about it. So you cut those people out and you bring people in that have never, you know, been privy to that sort of a system. Look up the encomienda system to find out like how you can specialize each individual race to integrate into a subjugative colonial-based sort of plantation system. And plantations, trust me, is not anything to do with making good food and vegetables. It's everything to do with an incredibly wasteful philosophy of human subjugation. And if you can just set up a new encomienda system, just like the Spanish did in Latin America, then you can do it with African American people. You can do it with Middle Eastern people, even Palestinian people. You can do it with the ones that have decided to sell out, essentially. You see, it's a little depressing, but, you know, it's not nothing I can do about this. To see people talk about 2 million people like it's their fault that Hamas is in charge, and not like directly admitted by Bibi Netanyahu that he wanted Hamas to be the governing body of Gaza and southern Palestine so that they would never be able to assert a state again, and how a lot of people don't support them, but they're all just lumped in by our ignorance. And if you know anything about the PLO in the West Bank, you'll know that they're actually attached to Operation Gladio, and it had a lot of weapons, and they're basically part of this encomienda system. That's what I'm talking about. So, you know, whether it's Japanese people, whether it's all Aboriginals, you know, you can create a system by which, a DEI system by which variety of people who don't have like a historical contingent to do something can be brought in and paid pennies to screw over everybody. And the people with wisdom that have done this for 100, 200 years and have learned, hey, this is bad for everybody. This is bad for our grandchildren. This is bad for the overall ability to survive as a human being, and for the quality of everybody's life just consistently going down. Some people not noticing it because of shifting baseline syndrome, but a lot of people being able to connect the dots and be like, things didn't used to be this way 15, 30, 45, 60 years ago. This DEI system is a good blueprint for setting up new streams of well, you know what I'm saying. Management for the sort of systems that put down the same people in the past. They're just like, well, now it's our turn, and then the pendulum swings on back. It is what it is, you know. The origin of the concept of the homunculus is fascinating and strange, and I've been doing a little bit of studies on this. It's usually attributed to the Renaissance alchemist and toxicologist Paracelsus, who has a big, long name, who I'm not going to try and pronounce. But Jung, without without hurting anybody's feelings or kicking anybody, Jung managed to trace it doxologically back to the Gnostic Zosimos, and then through Islam to settle in the Alps somehow, likely through the Knights Templar, you know what I'm saying? And most here know it from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, right? The Full Metal Alchemist show where they had the little guy in the jar, right? So, where this comes from is in 1775, Count Johann Ferdinand von Kufstein, together with Abba Galani, an Italian cleric, is reputed to have created 10 homunculi with the ability to foresee the future. Which von Kufstein kept in glass containers at his Masonic lodge in Vienna. Ooh, look at that. Oh, yep. It's also speculated that homunculi lived inside of sperm, and that's how I originally found out about the term, is like, oh, so this old concept where there's like a little guy curled up in a fetal position inside of a sperm, and then he grows in his mother's womb and then becomes a real person. Yeah, it's a interesting little concept there. The Wikipedia page for Homunculus is a real trip. Sometimes your Wikipedia pages are dog shit. Like in the case of Pete Buttigieg, it's just one big fucking fluff piece for this fucking freak. And it's like most of the... Sorry for cursing, I'm really trying. Most of the stuff that Pete Buttigieg has done bad, like fixing bread prices in Canada and East Palestine, is completely minimized and shoved to the side. A couple of sentences, apologetics, and then the rest of it is just like, he was such a good scholar and a student and a lover of history and politics. It's like, nah, he's a baby stealing cuck. That's what he is. And I posted green gen lose subscriber. I lost a subscriber after talking shit about gay people. Hey man, Glenn Greenwald's okay, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. There's always good people in bad groups. But yeah, there's no joke that there's like a lot of people grow up out of that and they're just like, nah, that was just a moment of not thinking properly. But then if you're forced to double down on it and triple down on it and quadruple down on it and you make it your like permanent identity and people say that you were born that way, this is a big fucking thing. Of course it's choices, but you got this predestination sludge that, hate to say it, originally came up out of the Old Testament and then was transferred through Christianity through St. Augustine, and it went into Jean Calvin's Calvinism, which became the philosophy of England. It is like a synthesis. Anglicanism is a synthesis of Catholicism, Episcopalianism, and Calvinism. And Scotland is way less Calvinist, and Ireland has hardly any Calvinism in it and hardly any Episcopalianism in it. It's just pure Catholicism, which is weird because normally you have right here. Let me explain this real quick. Catholicism is, as I described later on the AP racism lecture yesterday, that Catholicism is mainly built around the warmer areas, around the water, around the Mediterranean. Orthodoxy is built more for Slavic regions from the Balkans all the way to Russia. And Lutheranism like took off hardcore in the coldest parts of Germany, in Scandinavia, and then you also have Anglicanism in England. And then, you have a lot of designated calendars that were built specifically for Mediterranean, and then they were enforced on other places, and the other places rejected the calendars but kept a lot of the stuff in and made their own calendars. Like you see, the Orthodox calendar is significantly different. So there's a big thing there. There's a big thing with there's no such thing as a global culture that works. You know what I'm saying? If it is global, it doesn't work. If it works, it isn't global. That's a big thing. And, yeah, I lost a subscriber. I'm pretty sure I know who that guy was. So, let's not worry about it. Who up bottling the homunculus? Who up philosophizing the stone? I've never liked Taylor Swift. Not because of the music, right? But because she looks like a girl that I dated, only somebody took a shrink ray to her eyes and thighs. Oh, Slavic girls, I love you, but hey, you know, maybe open them eyes a little bit. It's just something real beautiful about Western girls, you know what I'm saying? And, hey, you know, sometimes the Slavic girls have a better mindset, better work ethic, better attitude, better ability to raise a family, but the most beautiful girls in the world are colorfully bright-eyed, colorful-haired, tall, clear skin European women, and that's known throughout the world. You can't really dispute that. That doesn't necessarily mean that in every category they're knocking it out of the park, but when it comes, there's a hierarchy when it comes to looks. You know, that's however it happened. I personally believe some people think that it's just like it's breeding by force, killing the weaker women, and stuff like that. But I personally believe that it's the innovations of the Celtic people, and it's the intelligence of the Germanic people that built up, even back to the Indo-Europeans, because blue eyes can be traced only from about 20,000 years ago to somewhere around the Black Sea. And you have this tremendously intelligent, communal, forward-thinking culture that Europe came from, and then would continue to grow up and up as time went on. And I think that's where it comes from. It doesn't come from this barbarian, you know, only valuing the women that you would like to, you know, you know what I'm saying. There's different theories on it. It's certainly not random, but a lot of mutations start off random, right? So they start off random, and then you have more and more of it that comes into the culture and the race as time goes on. But that's the shifty thing about race, right? Like, when did various races start? Who knows? We can kind of trace them along the millennia, but we can't necessarily determine what. And that's why you get these fucking lunatics, these insane shitheads that think it's like aliens, that aliens are the ones with blonde hair and blue eyes. No. No special snowflake. That's not it. But anyways, technically, since I'm already being hella weird, technically I could take any wife that I wanted of any race or any culture, as long as she would be willing to appreciate the noble pro-nature Celtic culture. Men have it easy in that regard. That isn't, you know, men do have it easy in that regard. Women don't have it so easy when it comes to maintaining their culture, but the whole purpose is like when you have people saying, hey, we just don't want you to be raping our women, right? That is born out of this ancient thing of protecting your own women to prevent them from being diagonally integrated into another man's culture and family. Because that's always what happened. You always see this back in the old days, in the old country. Women had to just straight up hardly ever see their other families again, because they would be integrating firmly into their husband's family, right? That's why back in those old days, you would always want to have a son. And if you're King Henry VIII, and the weird things that you're doing and the weird things that you're eating are making you only produce female heirs, well, one, that's not your wife's fault. And two, it sucks for you because you're a king and you need a prince. He shouldn't. From a young age, Henry VIII was invited into the Masonic orgies, and there's like this mask with ram's horns and little monocles, little sliding glasses that he wore to these parties. And I'm pretty sure he got like syphilis or something. Is that true? I'm sure it was just rampaging through these horrific communities. And as I have mentioned before, orgies and incest are like the religion of Hollywood, because a lot of Hollywood comes from Frankist Zoharists who worship this like two-timing creep who converted to Islam to save his skin later on in his life, who believe that if you throw out all of the wisdom of the Torah and the Talmud and you just do whatever the fuck you want, then you could create global anarchy and reign over it. One of these many, many highly autistic, incredibly stupid theories that never end up doing anything but like just bombing their local area, right? So, it is the reason why I courted the Welsh girl on Kiwi Farms is because I genuinely liked her. I didn't, there was a little bit of stuff in like the fact I liked her a little bit more because she was Welsh, because we have kind of a jiving cultural vision, but at the same time, like, I genuinely liked her. And what's interesting is like we started talking more and more as we started to fight more and more. But it wasn't any sort of a violent fight. It was like kind of flirty fights there. But hey, I hope she's doing well. I hope she gets somebody, and she has a good life and a big family and stays happy and healthy and positive. Ladies, listen up. Important relationship advice dropping right here, right now. You need to cede as much responsibility as you expect of your guy when you're wondering about food. You can't just pop that on him while consistently taking the driver's seat. You need to cede a level of responsibility that you would expect at the same time that you are wondering about food in other things as well. So, just some advice. When I was kind of a hipster curious youth, I used to think that it made me smart or cool to be ahead of the trends, but I had the wrong vision of it. It's not the people making things bad. It's those trying to control the people and make money and cast as wide a net as possible. And simultaneously, I genuinely believe there's an intentional theme here. They're trying to make it as bad as possible. They're trying to continuously move things worse and worse and worse and worse and worse until everybody is just experiencing psychic damage all the time, and they're completely and utterly melted down to a putty where they can be reformed in whatever image the ruling class would deem fit. And I'm not an anti-ruling class sort of person, but it's pretty easy to tell that our modernist, Masonic, hedonic, and insane system has a ruling class of modernist, hedonic, insane people. So, yeah, I would prefer better leaders. We need leaders. It's one of the reasons why I'm kind of excited about Trump, and have been since he got his ear shot, is because he actually is expressing sort of a world soul, sort of a grander vision. But gosh, it's always real hard. You gotta stay on that horse. And if he de-stresses too much and he relaxes and he cedes too much power to Elon could just straight up lock him out. There's a lot of mechanical, electronic stuff going on around the Oval Office, right? And if you hack into the systems properly, you can effectively destroy the defensive systems in place around the White House. But anyways, let's just pray on that if you believe in that, and stay positive. There's some people who are freaking the fuck out about Trump right now, and it's like, if anything, worry a little bit about Elon, but like, why would you worry about stuff outside of your control? Just focus, like, think of a little bit long term, focus mainly on ensuring that you have a level of security and independence. You don't need 1,000,000 guns. One gun will do you, right? One gun and enough bullets to fire like 12 times. That's literally all you need. People are arguing about whether or not they should have Gatling guns when it doesn't matter. Like, one person can still take you out. Now, I think normal people are trying to envision and fantasize about a system where they can automate machine guns and place them as turrets because they played too many video games, they played too much Fallout, and I think that's gonna be a thing. But I don't see the necessity for it. Even if you could do it, I don't see the necessity for it. The main problem is not your neighbor, Alex Jones, you fucking cocaine-addled freak, demon-possessed monster that has made the world a tremendously worse place, who deserves to suffer immensely more than he has. Your neighbor's not your enemy. The enemy has drones. The enemy has satellites. And that's not to say that Elon Musk is the enemy, right? But that's the technology that we're getting into. We're legitimately past the 70s and 80s. Like, Vietnam was apocalypse visited on by a people 300, 400 years in the past technologically. And it's shooting fish in a barrel at the end of the day. Yeah, as human beings, they put up a good defense of their home. But, and I'm not fucking uncle is with us in our marches sort of guy. But at the end of the day, if you invade somebody else's country, you can't expect anything more than what Hamas has done. You can't expect anything less than what the Viet Cong did. It's the consequences of your actions as somebody who goes and invades a country where people have lived for over 1,000 years. It is what it is. Did you know Rick Scott made all of his money robbing old people through Medicare and Medicaid? And his own party. He stole bunches of money out of the Republican coffers. And he's responsible for the slight blue wave that happened in 2022, despite the fact that Biden was already incredibly unpopular. The Republican coffers had no money in them because Rick Scott, as the person responsible for it, just sucked them up into his bank account and laundered them out. Absolute freak, man. Absolute freak. People like Rick Scott are genuinely no different than those particular Democratic politicians pushing for the Ukraine war and pushing to de-arm every single person, like turn us into Europe so that everybody's just going around getting stabbed all the time. Like, you don't, as I said, you don't want to be subscribed to either extremist position. You want to keep your shit balanced. And your own capability to thread the needle is far more important than storing up a shit ton of guns or stripping everybody else of their guns. No, it's your own ability to adapt to the constantly changing environment in front of you. That's what actually gets it done. Now, I'm sorry for the shitty, ranty, unimportant, probably unfun and unfunny episode. I'm not feeling too good. As you can tell, I'm fucking greasy and nasty. So, yeah, I'm gonna go take a nice cold shower. And I hope everybody else has a real good time. And keep your head up. No matter what happens. Stay positive. Alright, y'all. Cheers.